Fear of failure. Fear of failure is one of the brain's oldest defense mechanisms. It treats uncertainty as danger, activating the same neural systems once used for survival. When risk appears, the amygdala sends a signal to retreat, convincing the mind that inaction is safety. But this safety is deceptive. By avoiding failure, the brain also avoids progress. Psychologically, fear of failure is a form of control. It keeps outcomes predictable by keeping effort low. Growth only begins when failure is redefined as feedback, not threat. Each small attempt trains the brain to replace fear with familiarity. Self-doubt. Self-doubt emerges when perception outweighs reality. It is the brain's cautious voice overestimating risk, underestimating ability. People trapped in doubt often analyze themselves more than their goals, seeking internal permission before action. This habit rewires confidence downward, reinforcing hesitation. Psychologically, doubt protects the ego from disappointment. If I never try, I can't fail. But that protection becomes a prison. Confidence, in truth, is not belief before action, but belief built through repetition. Every act of effort, however uncertain, weakens doubt's authority. Fear and doubt sustain each other, one avoids risk, the other questions readiness. Progress begins the moment action is taken, despite both. Mental resistance. Resistance is not laziness, it's psychological protection. The human brain is wired to prefer stability over progress because change demands energy and introduces uncertainty. When new goals appear, the mind perceives them as potential threats to comfort. This friction shows up as hesitation, distraction, or endless rationalization. In neuroscience, this is called homeostatic resistance, the brain defending its current state. But resistance isn't proof of weakness, it's a signal of transformation. The presence of resistance means the mind is confronting its own limits. Pushing through it isn't force, it's adaptation in progress. Chronic procrastination. Procrastination is emotion management disguised as poor time control. It occurs when the brain links a task with discomfort, fear of failure, pressure, or judgment, and seeks instant relief through delay. Each act of avoidance briefly reduces stress, rewarding the mind with dopamine, which reinforces the cycle. Over time, procrastination becomes a conditioned escape from emotional friction. Breaking it requires not punishment, but awareness, recognizing the avoidance impulse without obeying it. True productivity begins when a person acts with discomfort instead of waiting for it to disappear. Resistance and procrastination thrive in comfort, but comfort is rarely the birthplace of growth. Real progress starts where the mind begins to resist most. Overanalyzing decisions. Overthinking often disguises itself as intelligence. The mind believes that by analyzing every possibility, it can avoid mistakes, but in reality, it creates paralysis. Psychologically, this stems from intolerance of uncertainty, where the brain tries to replace risk with perfect clarity. Yet clarity never comes before action, it's produced by it. The more options the brain considers, the less capable it becomes of choosing any. This analysis paralysis drains cognitive energy, leaving the thinker mentally exhausted, but no closer to progress. Clarity is not found through endless reasoning, it's revealed through engagement. Lack of direction. Lack of direction doesn't mean lack of ambition. It's what happens when goals multiply without structure. The human brain struggles to maintain focus when it lacks a defined target, scattering energy across conflicting pursuits. Psychologically, this creates a loop of constant activity, but little progress, a feeling of being busy yet unfulfilled. The absence of a clear path confuses the reward system, blurring the feedback that motivation depends on. Direction provides meaning. It tells the mind where effort belongs. Without it, persistence fades, replaced by quiet frustration. Overthinking and confusion are not failures of intelligence, they are excesses of it. Progress returns the moment. Action replaces analysis. Fear of judgment. Fear of judgment is a social instinct misapplied to modern life. In ancient times, belonging to the group meant survival, so rejection felt like danger. That same neural response remains today. The amygdala reacts to criticism as if it were a physical threat. This makes people shrink their ideas, censor expression, or delay action until approval feels guaranteed. Psychologically, this fear is rooted in social evaluation anxiety, the overestimation of how much others notice or care. In truth, most minds are too busy with their own insecurities to remember anyone else's mistakes. Progress begins when validation stops being the condition for expression. Perfectionism is not a standard of excellence, it's fear wearing discipline's disguise. It's driven by the belief that worth equals flawlessness. Psychologically, it links achievement to identity. If what I create isn't perfect, then I'm not enough. This creates paralysis, because anything imperfect feels unsafe to release. But growth is inherently imperfect. Mastery requires tolerance for mistakes. The perfectionist never realizes that excellence is built on accumulated imperfection, not avoidance of it. The courage to be unfinished is what allows refinement to begin. Comparison and insecurity are reflections of the same distortion, measuring worth externally instead of internally. Progress becomes possible only when approval loses its authority. Emotional burnout. Burnout doesn't appear suddenly. It builds quietly through chronic overextension. It occurs when effort continues without psychological recovery, when doing replaces being. The brain's reward system, once fueled by progress, becomes desensitized. What once felt meaningful now feels mechanical. Psychologically, burnout represents an identity imbalance, effort detached from purpose. The mind confuses constant activity with value, leading to emotional depletion. Rest is not laziness, it's maintenance for clarity. Without it, motivation fades, and success feels hollow, even when achieved. Recovery is not retreat, it's restoration of alignment between energy and meaning. Loss of meaning. The loss of meaning is the final block to progress. It happens when external goals no longer connect to internal values. Psychologically, it's a collapse of purpose. When the brain's why disappears, even achievement feels empty. This disconnection often follows prolonged striving without reflection. The person continues to move, but direction feels absent. Restoring meaning requires reconnection, not with ambition, but with intention. The mind must remember what the effort is for. Progress without purpose becomes motion without life. Fatigue and disconnection mark the mind's signal for reevaluation, not failure. When energy aligns again with purpose, movement regains depth and progress becomes sustainable, not forced.